Hi, we are in chapter 8 now of, 7. Chapter 7 of My Father's Dragon. When we left chapter 6, I forgot to subtract the number of tangerines that Elmer ate. That he ate 8 tangerines at the end of chapter 6. So I went ahead and subtracted 39. Take away 8, and that is now 31. 9 take away 8 is 1. 31. Let me see if I can erase this. We'll just put it back bigger. So 31 tangerines left in Elmer's backpack, or knapsack, he calls it. 31. All right, so Elmer is to meet the king at sundown. The king is dying of curiosity, as did all the 10 kings before him. And remember, the kings are canaries. They are on an island called Feather Island. All the canaries, when they leave or when they escape their cages, they go to Feather Island. So this is chapter 7, and it's called The Secret. The king is supposed to tell Elmer the secret. Wake up! Wake up! It's time! It's time to see the king, chirped Flute as the red sun settled over the meadow. Elmer opened his eyes and forgot for a moment where he was. Then he jumped up, put on his knapsack. I want to come too, yawned the dragon. You weren't invited, said Flute. Neither were you, Flute. Come to think of it, said Elmer. Let's all go and see what happens, suggested the dragon. So these pages don't have pictures, so just imagine. So off they went to see the king. He was waiting for them at the foot of the very tall tree, nervously hopping from one foot to the next, pecking at imaginary mosquitoes. What's that? He asked, pointing to the dragon. That's my good friend, the baby dragon. I rescued him 2 days ago, and now he's taking me home. I don't like him, said the king, feeling kind of small and helpless. Oh, yes you do, said Flute. Quiet, Flute. I guess I know what I like and what I don't like, said the king. The dragon kind of drooped his head and began to walk away. Oh, well, said the king, come back. If I'm going to tell the secret to anyone, it'll never be a secret anymore, and I suppose you might as well know too. I do wish it weren't such an old secret. Flute, the dragon, and Elmer waited quietly while the king looked around at the ground, then up at the tree, then at the ground, then up at the tree. Treasure! He whispered. Uh-oh, I didn't do that well, did I? Treasure! He whispered so suddenly they all jumped into the air. At least I think it's treasure, but I can't find out without your help. Where? Said Elmer. It's not very far from here, said the king. Elmer, Flute, and the dragon looked every which way to see where the treasure could be. Oh gosh, I guess I have to tell you where it is too, said poor King Can the 11th. It's buried right under this tree in a big iron chest. What sort of treasure? Asked Elmer. Well, that's just it. That's what I'm dying of curiosity to know, said the king. So that's it, said Flute. And you're sure that it's right here, right under this tree? Asked Elmer. Absolutely. You see, it's bigger than the others. This tree is bigger than the others, And that's because it was the only tree here when the first settlers came. They planted the other pines and the apple orchard so they would have wood and food when they returned. But they never came back. And their chest is still buried right here. Everybody waited for the king to continue, but he didn't. So Elmer said, well, let's dig it up. Yes, let's, said Flute. All right, said the king. My secret's all spoiled now anyway. You will find the shovel under that rock over there. Yes, let's, said Flute. What shovel? Asked Elmer. The settlers left a shovel over there. It's rusty by now, but it's better than nothing. Elmer went to get the shovel while the king danced around on the pine needles chirping. I'm feeling better already. The queen kept twittering and muttering to herself. I never thought I'd see this day. Now, where should I begin digging? Said Elmer. So there's the biggest tree. That's how the king knows where the treasure is. There's the king and the queen. There's Elmer with the shovel. And he's about ready to start digging for the treasure. It's a rhyme. Now, where do I begin digging? Asked Elmer. It's a rhyme, said the king. It goes like this. 4 shovel links from the trunk of the pine, making the rock the guide for the line. So he measured 4 shovel links from the pine tree, and then he went over to the rock and made like an intersection from the pine tree to the rock. And then they knew right there is where they would start digging. Elmer carefully measured the distance and began to dig. The dragon did his best to help Flute, and the king and queen sat watching the hole get deeper and deeper. By now it was dark in the pine forest, but enough moonlight was filtering through the branches of the tall trees so that they could just see what was going on, what they were doing. They dug for 6 hours without a hitting of a root or a rock or anything like an iron chest. Are you certain this is the right place? Said Elmer. He was getting tired and discouraged. I'm positive, said the king. Just then the moon went under the clouds and Elmer's shovel hit something with a loud clank. The chest, they all shouted. It was too dark to see, but they said the chest, and they waited so long for the moon to come out that they were waiting and waiting to be able to see. It was completely dark, no lights. Remember, they're on an island. And the only light was the moon, and the moon had just gone behind the clouds. And now it was pitch black. And they kept waiting for the moon to come back from behind the clouds, but they fell asleep. And this is them as they were watching Elmer dig. Flute, the king and the queen, and the dragon. And that's the end of chapter 7. So the next chapter, yes, they have to wait. They're asleep. They didn't find the treasure. But the next chapter is chapter 8, and it is called The Treasure. So meet me back here for chapter 8.